Hey guys, in this video we're in chapter 7 on trigonometric identities and equations, and we're working through section 7 on sum and difference identities. And we're doing problem 7, which says find the exact value of the sine of 11 pi over 2. And I've gone ahead and I've copied the sum and difference identities for sine. So what we're going to want to do in this problem is we're going to want to look at our sine of 11 pi over 2, and we want to break down this 11 pi over 2 into the sum or difference of two angles alpha and beta that we know the sine and cosine of from our unit circle. So we're going to go ahead and use this sine of alpha plus beta because it's going to be a little bit easier than the difference. So we have 11 pi over 12, and what we want to do is we want to find two different angles, angle and beta, that add up to it. So what will that look like? Well, on the unit circle, we know that we have angles pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, and pi over 2. So what we want to do is we want to choose ones that their denominators will multiply to 12 here. So we've got pi over 2 times pi over 6. 2 times 6 will be 12, or 3 times 4 will be 12. So I'm going to choose that we're going to have angles of that are multiples of pi over 3 and pi over 4. So what that means is we'll have 11 pi over 12 is going to be equal to pi over 3 times some number a, some integer a, plus pi over 4 times some integer b. And now what we're going to do is we're going to find the common denominator. So we're going to multiply the first factor by 4 over 4, and the second factor by 3 over 3, so that we get 12 on the bottom. So we'll have 11 pi over 12 equals 4 pi a over 12 plus 3b times pi over 12. And now we can get rid of the common factors. So what that'll look like is we'll get rid of the pi and the 12 on both sides. So we'll have 11 equals 4a plus 3b. And we know that both a and b are going to have to be integers. Why do we know that? Because each one of the numbers in front of the pi on the unit circle is going to be an integer. You're not going to have half pi over 2. So we need both of these to be integers. Well, since 11 is an odd number and 3 is our odd number on this side, we know that b is going to have to be an odd integer. So if we plug in b equals 1, we're going to have 11 equals 4a plus 3, or 4a equals 8, or a equals 2. That's another integer, so it works. So we can plug in our b equals 1 and our a equals 2 to these right here, and we'll get 11 pi over 12 equals a 2 times pi over 3 plus b 1 times pi over 4. So this is now what we're going to substitute into our sine. So now we'll have that the sine of 11 pi over 12 is now going to be equal to the sine of 2 pi over 3 plus pi over 4. And now we have the format that we need to go ahead and use our sum identity for sine. So now all we have to do is plug in the numbers. So we've got sine of 2 pi over 3 plus pi over 4 is going to be equal to the sine of the first angle, 2 pi over 3, times the cosine of the second angle, which is pi over 4. And then we're going to add the cosine of the first angle times the sine of the second angle. And if we know the unit circle, we know that the sine of 2 pi over 3 is going to be, let's see, we've got 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6 is going to be 2 pi over 3. The sine is going to be the y coordinate, so we're going to have root 3 over 2 for that one. The cosine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2. And then we're going to add the cosine of 2 pi over 3 is going to be negative a half. And then we're going to have the sine of pi over 4, which is going to be root 2 over 2. So when you multiply this out, we get, let's see, root 3 times root 2 is going to be root 6 over 4 minus root 2 over 4. Or root 6 minus root 2 all over 4. And there we go. Let's see. We can write that a little bit brighter for you guys. Our answer there is going to be root 6 minus root 2 all over 4. And that's the answer. I hope you found this video really helpful. The concepts we covered in this video are true no matter what pre-calculus class you take. And the examples I cover are from this textbook right here. And remember, if you're a Baylor student currently enrolled, there is free tutoring on the first floor of Sidrich. You can create a one-on-one appointment online or drop in anytime during our business hours. Please visit our website, www.baylor.edu/tutoring, for more details. Sic 'em Bears.